Geneva arcology basked beneath a sterile sky, glass domes arching like the ribs of a planet-sized skeleton, housing what remained of Earth's power. Inside the Concordat Hall, war had no place. Or so they claimed. Commander Arlen Voss stood at the center of the high chamber, light from the hologlobe casting starfields across his black uniform. He didn't flinch as the news dropped into the silence, like a blade through flesh. The transmission ended. Static flickered. Then the image settled. A human colony, halcyon reach, reduced to smoldering craters. Billions gone in a blink, families, outposts, cities. No distress calls had escaped. Only this, a Olari broadcast, pulsing in a guttural tongue. The infestation is cleansed. Let this be Earth's warning. The chamber erupted. Impossible. This is propaganda. We must confirm with council delegates. Voss raised a hand. The room fell quiet. Confirmation? You want another scan? Another wrecked planet? His voice, calm and cold, cut cleaner than any blade. Halcyon's gone. So is Penumbra 9. We've lost contact with 3 other border colonies. This isn't theory. It's war. A Concordat delegate from New Pacifica, face pale beneath silver implants, stood shakily. We must appeal to the Galactic Council. The Olari can't act unilaterally. There are laws. Voss stepped down from the dais, boots echoing in the vast marble silence. And what law protected the children vaporized at Halcyon? His tone didn't rise, but it carried weight. What law stopped the Olari fleet? Silence. Then another voice, more cautious, more political. The Council's hands are tied. Sanctions require 2/3 approval. Retaliation could. Retaliation? Voss snapped. You think we're asking permission? This isn't about politics. It's about survival. We gave the galaxy peace. We gave them civility. They answered with genocide. The room grew still. Outside, the dome lights dimmed to simulate dusk. Voss looked at them. Scientists, diplomats, architects of a utopian dream now shattered. I spent 20 years believing in unity. I believed we could integrate, adapt, evolve. But some species don't negotiate. They dominate or they destroy. We're done asking for understanding. He walked to the central console and placed his hand on the biometric scanner. Authorization, ARC Protocol, Voss. Supreme Commander Override. Gasps. No one had spoken the ARC Protocol aloud in decades. It was Earth's last resort, the blueprint for total war, built in case peace failed. A hologram flared to life above them. Orbital weapons platforms, Black Fleet schematics, drone armies slumbering beneath the Martian crust. The chamber trembled as the failsafes lifted. Effective immediately, Voss said, voice like steel across ice. Earth withdraws from the Galactic Council. All Concordat forces are now under unified military command. Diplomatic channels will remain open, for now. But we will no longer wait while our people are slaughtered. Commander, someone whispered, this means war. No, Voss replied. They chose war. We're just responding. A chime interrupted. Voss turned as his adjutant, Lieutenant Kyra Mendel, stepped forward, eyes grim. Sir, latest intercept from Penumbra. We've decoded the wreckage logs. Civilian transports were targeted first. No survivors. All Olari signatures. He nodded once, then looked back to the council. They didn't want territory. They wanted erasure. And they nearly succeeded. A diplomat in flowing robes stood, trembling. If we abandon diplomacy, we become no better than them. Voss's eyes locked onto hers. Civility is a luxury, one earned through trust. They'd burn that trust with our dead. He walked to the massive viewport at the far end of the hall. Through the reinforced crystal, Earth rotated below, scarred, reborn, and quiet. too quiet. "I remember the first time I saw the stars as a child," he said, tone softening. "I believed we'd become something better than the old empires, something just." He turned, expression unreadable. "But justice has no meaning if the dead are left unavenged." The chamber fell silent. No one dared argue further. The war had already begun. The only question left was how far they would go to finish it. Down in the subterranean command center, Voss entered the Leviathan vault, a chamber sealed since the Unification War. Rows of black ships stood silent under red light. AI cores hummed beneath armor thick enough to punch through moons. Mendel followed, her voice hushed. "This'll wake up every empire. The Council will brand us warmongers." "They already do," Voss said. "But they forget humans didn't survive Earth by being gentle." He paused before the lead ship, TSV Resolute. Sleek, lethal, patient. Like its commander. "Wake them all," he ordered. "Bring every ship online. Inform our allies, what few we have left. War is no longer pending. It's begun." As the vault roared to life, Voss stepped onto the loading platform and looked skyward. "They wanted monsters," he whispered. "Now let them see what they've made." The darkness answered with thunder. The shipyard above Titan was alive. Not with trade ships or science freighters, but with war. Lights rippled across kilometers of titanium scaffolding as ancient systems hummed back to life. The Leviathan fleet, Earth's hidden sword, rose from dormancy. Commander Arlen Voss stood on the bridge of the TSV Resolute, watching the launch from a cold observation deck. Titans of war drifted through Saturn's rings like sharks in a frozen sea. "They weren't built for deterrence," Voss muttered. "They were built for vengeance." Lieutenant Kyra Mendel approached, holding a tactical pad. "Fleet integrity confirmed. 94% operational. 2 cruisers from the Mars yards en route to rendezvous." Voss didn't respond immediately. He was watching the strike drones, sleek, silent, thousands of them forming a swarm that could darken stars. The ARC protocol hadn't just prepared for defense. It had prepared for extermination. "Target confirmed?" he asked. Mendel nodded. "Nuskar Prime. Secondary Alari breeding world. Military oversight minimal. Civilian evacuation already in progress. Looks like they underestimated how fast we'd hit back." He gave a single nod. "Tonight," he said quietly, "they learn how humans mourn." Hours later, Resolute emerged from folded space. The stars snapped into clarity around the Alari system. Nuskar Prime sat below, lush, azure continents dotted with glass colonies, domed cities gleaming like jewels. Not for long. Voss sat in command, silent. Across the deck, officers awaited his word. No speeches, no fanfare. "Commence Operation Ashwake," he ordered. Within moments, the Leviathan fleet moved. Strike cruisers dropped from orbit, blades of fire screaming through atmosphere. Coordinated railgun fire shattered orbital defenses before alarms fully triggered. EMP bursts rendered planetary comms inert. Then came the drones, scalpel precise, targeting power grids, airfields, fuel reserves. It was not a massacre. It was a demonstration. Every Alari military installation was vaporized within 36 minutes. No human life was lost. No warning was given. In the planetary capital of Karaxa, as Alari citizens fled into subterranean shelters, a signal cut into every broadcast frequency. Voss's face appeared, expression unreadable, voice quiet. "This is Earth's response. You chose genocide. We choose memory." Behind him, the burning remains of a human colony looped on screen. Charred soil, orbiting wreckage, names of the dead scrolling endlessly beneath. Voss raised his hand. The screen cut to the sky. Dozens of human ships hovered like predators. "We will not negotiate with murderers." We will not plead with tyrants. The only thing we offer now is consequence. He made a final gesture. One of the Ilari colonial command towers exploded, collapsing in fire. Back aboard the Resolute, Mendel handed him a data slate. We've intercepted their command comms. Their fleet's not reacting. Either too scattered or too slow. Let them watch, Voss said. Let them all watch. Broadcasts are already trending on neutral networks, she added. We're being called war criminals. He didn't flinch. They called us soft before. Let them feel the weight of being wrong. A soft tone chimed, secure channel. Patch it through, Voss said. An alien face flickered to life. Pale blue skin, 6 eyes, Counselor Vereen of the Zalathai, one of the few species that had once stood with humanity. Her expression was tight. You've made your point, Voss. I haven't even begun. You're undermining the balance. Earth will become a pariah. No, he said. We'll become feared. She paused. There are whispers in the council that the Ilari didn't act alone, that elements within the assembly authorized the strike. Voss's eyes narrowed. You have proof? No, she said. But I know where you can find it. He leaned forward. Send me the location. She hesitated. This makes me a traitor. This makes you honest. After a beat, she sent the coordinates. Then the transmission died. Mendel exhaled sharply. Do you believe her? I believe we've just found the next front. He stared at the dying planet on the screen. Fire still bloomed across military outposts. Civilians had survived. He had made sure of it. The point wasn't extinction. It was fear. Later, in the war room aboard Resolute, command gathered. Tactical holograms glowed between them, data streams from neutral systems lighting up with activity. Humanity's move had shattered the illusion of peace. Mendel spoke first. Galactic Council's response is divided. Half want censure. The rest are silent. Silent, Voss repeated. Or complicit. He gestured to a region near the Nyari Nebula, the Council's main archive relay. That's where we go next. Sir, one general interjected, this will escalate beyond containment. You're talking about striking at Council assets. I'm talking about truth. His voice didn't rise, but the room stilled. They either let the Ilari commit genocide, or they helped. If you're wrong, Mendel said carefully, we'll make enemies of everyone. If I'm wrong, I'll answer for it, Voss said. But if I'm right, then the galaxy's ruled by liars behind polished glass. And it's time we break the glass. That night, he stood alone on the Resolute's observation deck. No uniform, no commands. Just a man watching Saturn's rings pass like silent ghosts. Mendel joined him, hesitant. Do you sleep at all? Not since Halcyon, he said. She didn't press. After a while, he spoke again. I used to believe in alliances, treaties, reason, but I've learned something these past days. What? That peace is just war in a prettier dress. She looked at him, really looked. And what are we now? Voss stared into the void. Not monsters, he said. Just the ones who survived. Outside, the Resolute turned toward the Nyari Nebula. Engines rumbled, and humanity marched on. The Nyari Nebula pulsed like a wound in the stars, scarlet clouds curling around Council Station Viral, the heart of the Galactic Assembly's intelligence archives. A fortress built to preserve order. Now, it housed secrets wrapped in blood. The TSE Resolute drifted in stealth mode, cloaked behind refracted light and radiation smog. Inside, Commander Arlen Voss stood over a pulsing holomap, expression fixed. The station rotated lazily, unaware of what approached. Council communications confirmed the mode passed, said Lieutenant Kyra Mendel, tapping her display. Earth's been labeled a rogue state. Sanctions. No contact. No appeal. Voss didn't look up. And yet, we're still breathing. She nodded grimly. Because they want to see if we'll fold. We don't fold, he said. We strike. The bridge was quiet. No one spoke against him anymore. Not since Nuskar Prime. Not after they learned what the fleet could do. Voss gestured to a flashing node on the station's spine. That's our target. Sublevel C, Council Black Archive. It stores sealed records, encryption keys, and real-time backup of Council deliberations. If there's proof the genocide was authorized, Mendel said, it's there. Voss turned to his strike team, hand-picked, silent, armored in black polyweave. This isn't conquest. It's extraction. Get in. Get the evidence. No civilian casualties. No unnecessary damage. He paused, eyes cold. But if they resist, burn them. The insertion was surgical. Aboard a stealth drop craft, the team sliced through the nebula, weaving between gas currents and debris. They breached the station through an exhaust port, bypassing alarms with AI-hacked codes. Inside, the halls were bright, sterile, lined with marble, gold-trimmed panels, and glass walls displaying floating banners of every council member world. Mendel scanned the corridors. Looks like a museum. Then let's find the rot under the polish, Voss muttered. They advanced swiftly, neutralizing a handful of startled security drones. At sublevel C, a biometric lock blinked red. Voss placed a device, one of Earth's quietest weapons, a logic virus. Seconds later, the doors hissed open. The black archive was a sphere of memory, data banks stacked like ribs around a glowing core. Here, billions of conversations, classified orders, and encrypted files lived. Mendel accessed the terminal, fingers flying. Pulling restricted channels from the assembly's last 10 cycles, she said, focusing on anything with Ilari Dominion authorization. Voss scanned the room. Something felt wrong. A sudden alarm screamed. Mendel froze. We've been flagged. External override just spiked the system. The room lights dimmed to red. Shutters dropped over exits. A voice crackled across the station-wide comms. Familiar, cold, contemptuous. Commander Voss. I see you're done hiding. Voss clenched his jaw. Ka-Arul. The Ilari strategist's face appeared across every wall, a ghost of bone-white skin and flickering cybernetic eyes. You call this justice? Thieves in the dark? This is truth, Voss said evenly. We're taking what you buried. The Council let you exist. And this is how you repay them. We offered them security. Unity. They chose you instead. A mistake we've corrected. You call genocide correction? Ka-Arul sneered. Your species infected everything it touched. Chaotic. Emotional. Unruly. You were never meant to survive the stars. And yet, Voss said, here we are. The image flickered out. Footsteps echoed in the hall. Contact incoming, Mendel called out. Dozens of armored figures poured into the corridor. Council strike operatives, armored in iridium alloy, plasma rifles humming. Stand by for breach, Voss ordered. Gunfire erupted. The room shook. Earth's strike team responded with brutal efficiency, pulse rounds tearing through armor, suppressors driving the enemy back. Mendel kept working, sweat beating at her temple. I've got it, she shouted. Voice logs. Vote transcripts. Authorizations. It's real, Arlen. They knew. The Council approved the Ilari Initiative 2 months before Halcyon. Voss didn't react. Not visibly. But something behind his eyes shifted. Something final. He snatched the data core from her hands, slid it into his pack. Time to leave. They broke through a side corridor, clearing enemies as they went. Explosives planted behind them triggered with thunder, sealing the archives forever. Back aboard the Resolute, the crew stood tense, the data decrypted in silence. Mendel played the final audio file aloud. Counselor Ress, voice calm, precise. The humans grow too fast. Too hungry. If we wait, they'll dominate the assembly within 2 cycles. Let the Alari deal with them, and we remain clean. No denials. No ambiguity. Just betrayal. The bridge was deathly still. Mendel spoke quietly. They condemned billions for convenience. Voss stepped forward. No trials. No diplomacy. No excuses. He turned to comms. Broadcast the file across all networks. All systems. Let every species hear who governs them. Aye, sir, the officer said. Within minutes, the message blazed across the galaxy. In council space, riots erupted. Member worlds severed ties. Protests flooded assembly planets. The truth moved faster than the council's lies ever had. The council retaliated. 3 fleets warped toward the Resolute's last known coordinates. Dozens of ships, armed and angry. The sky filled with enemy signatures. We're outgunned, Mendel said. Even Leviathan can't win this straight up. We won't, Voss replied. We don't need to. He opened a separate channel. One reserved for allies Earth had never trusted, but had always prepared for. Patch me through to the Valari High Chancellor. The screen flickered. The Valari were insected, eyes like molten gold. For centuries, they had been second-class members of the Assembly, dismissed, exploited, used. Now they listened. Voss spoke clearly. We have proof of what they did. We both know how the Council treats species they fear. The Valari leader didn't blink. What do you want, human? Justice, Voss said. An alliance. A pause. Then, slowly, the Valari nodded. Moments later, half the Council's fleet turned. Not against Earth, but against their former masters. The battle was chaos. Laser fire carved holes through the nebula. Explosions rippled through gas clouds. Earth's Leviathan ships danced like razors through the maelstrom, Valari warships flanking them in coordinated strikes. The Council fleet fractured. The station buckled. One final barrage shattered its core, sending fragments spinning into the void. Voss watched in silence as the heart of the Council died. Mendel stood beside him, blood on her cheek. You think this changes anything? He didn't answer immediately. No, he said finally. But it ends something. In the aftermath, silence returned. The war wasn't over. But the illusion was. Across the stars, species debated, doubted, and defected. The Council still breathed, but now in gasps. In a final transmission to all systems, Voss spoke from Earth orbit. You thought us dangerous, unstable, temporary. You were wrong. His face was unflinching. We are not temporary. We are not prey. We are human. And we remember. The Olari stronghold floated at the edge of the galaxy, a jagged construct of obsidian and bone, ringed by dead moons and forgotten satellites. No traffic. No signals. Just silence and waiting. Commander Arlen Voss stood in the TSE Resolute's armory, strapping on his battle gear. No command bridge, no war table. This fight was personal. Final confirmation, Lieutenant Mendel said, offering him his helmet. Kar-UL is here. Their last fleet is guarding the Citadel. No allies. No fallback. Voss locked the helmet into place. Good. He stepped into the dropship. Behind him, a hand-picked team filed in. Soldiers who had followed him through the worst of it. They didn't speak. They knew what this was. Not a mission. An ending. The Resolute dropped from orbit like a spear. Enemy cannons opened fire, but Earth's AI-guided countermeasures flared to life. Rail slugs and torpedoes found their marks. Alari warships crumbled and rose. But it wasn't enough. Voss didn't wait. As the Leviathan-class dreadnoughts engaged above, he led the drop assault through fire and steel. The Alari defense grid tried to stop them, automated turrets, fighter drones, pulse mines, but Earth strike pods punched through like thunder. They hit ground inside the Citadel's upper levels. The interior stank of oil, dust, and something older, decay sealed in metal. Voss disembarked first. "Move fast! No prisoners!" he ordered. They advanced through the fortress, corridors lined with etched hieroglyphs depicting Alari conquest across centuries. Mendel noticed one panel, humans rendered as insects, crushed beneath alien boots. She scowled. "Charming!" Voss didn't answer. The resistance was brutal. Alari warriors fought with desperation, not discipline. Blasters lit the halls red. Arlen moved like a storm, precise, unrelenting. His team followed without hesitation, cutting down anything in their path. A shell collapsed part of the ceiling. Dust blinded them for a moment. Then Nindel spotted it, carved into the wall. A list of colony names. Halcyon, Penumbra, Ventari. All the massacred human settlements. "This was never a mistake," she said. "It was a ritual." Voss stared at the names for a moment, then raised his rifle. One shot. The wall exploded into dust. They reached the central chamber. A circular hall of obsidian and glass, glowing faintly with neural relays. And in its center stood Kar-Ul. No guards. No weapons. Just a figure dressed in ceremonial armor, pale skin marred by age and augmentations. His 6 black eyes watched Voss without blinking. "You made it," Kar-Ul said, voice hollow. "The beast, dressed as a man." Voss lowered his weapon, but didn't holster it. "You knew this would end here." "I hoped," Kar-Ul said, "that your species would break itself trying." "You hoped wrong." The Alari laughed, bitter and thin. "You've destroyed the Council. You've turned allies into enemies. For what? Revenge?" "No," Voss said. "Memory." He stepped forward slowly. "You slaughtered civilians. Children. You called it cleansing. You called us infestation. Now you want mercy? I want you to see what you become." Voss stopped 3 feet away. "You wanted monsters," he said quietly. "And you carved them out of us." He drew a blade, carbon-edged, silent. Kar-Ul didn't move. "Then do it," the alien said. "End it. Prove me right." But Voss hesitated. "I want you to see what it feels like. When mercy dies. When restraint turns to ash. I want you to feel what you denied our dead." Kar-Ul stared back. "Then you're no better than me." Voss's jaw tightened. "I'm not here to be better," he said. "I'm here to finish it." He drove the blade through Kar-Ul's chest, slow, precise, final. The alien gasped once, collapsed in silence. Voss stood over him a moment longer, then turned away. Outside, the fortress burned. Human forces retreated as the Resolute fired its final barrage, collapsing the Citadel's main tower in a storm of debris. From orbit, the stronghold disappeared into ruin. Inside the command deck, Mendel sat in silence beside Voss. "It's done," she said softly. He nodded. "No council. No Alari. No one left to blame. What now?" Voss looked out at the stars. "Now they rebuild," he said, "but with new rules." A week later, Earth addressed the galaxy. A broadcast signal pulsed from every system, every neutral relay, every station. Arlen Voss stood alone before a plain black backdrop. No flags. No titles. Just his voice. You've called us dangerous. And you were right. He paused. We are dangerous. Not because we want conquest. Not because we desire war. But because we remember. His tone stayed level. Controlled. I see. We remember Halcyon. We remember the Council's silence. We remember the lies that cost billions of lives. And we will never forget. He leaned slightly closer. This is not a declaration of power. It's a warning. A brief static pause. We won't start wars. But we will end them. Quickly. Absolutely. And with precision. We are not prey. We are not temporary. We are human. He stepped back. And we are done being civilized. In the months that followed, the galaxy reshaped. The Valari founded a new alliance with Earth at its core. Dozens of species joined, not out of fear, but from shared wounds. The old council splintered, remnants hiding or collapsing entirely. Earth didn't claim territory. It didn't conquer. It watched. And the stars, once indifferent, now listened. Voss sat alone on a quiet cliffside above the Pacific, watching the ocean churn beneath the clouds. No uniform. No command. Just silence. Mendel approached, 2 mugs in hand. You still think about it? She asked. Every day. You could have taken more. Power. Control. That's not why we fought. She looked out at the sea. But they still fear us. Good. A long pause. Then she asked, Do you ever think we became what they feared? He took a sip. The wind moved. No, he said. We became what they deserved.